was a dark and rainy night, with lightning cutting through the sky in blinding flashes. The moment seemed like the perfect setting for a horror story, but little did I know that my life was about to turn into such a nightmare. I was in my small and cozy apartment, surrounded by the dancing shadows of scented candles. As I listened to the rain tapping on the windows and the distant thunder rumbling, I felt a blend of confinement and loneliness in my soul. No day seemed different from another, and routine drowned me in a sense of monotony. I worked at a desk, spent evenings with books or movies, and weekends slipped away in ordinary lethargy. I longed for something more, something to bring a spark of excitement into my dull life. However, no major change appeared on the horizon. One night, as I was preparing to nestle into bed, I heard a gentle knock at the front door. I suspected it was one of my neighbors who had forgotten to return some borrowed books. When I opened the door, I was surprised to find a beautifully wrapped gift box on my doorstep. There were no indications of who the sender might be, and there was no note. Just a box with a black ribbon and an unread white label. I took the box in my hands, feeling my heart beat rapidly in my chest. Something told me that this gift was going to change everything. I carefully unwrapped it and revealed an unusual object. An old mirror with a blossom frame and strange engravings along the edges. The moment I looked at myself in the mirror, I realized that something was amiss. A reflection of me seemed to be smiling with a diabolical grin, and my eyes reflected my fear. I didn't understand the significance of that mirror at that moment, but in the days to come, my life would turn into a nightmare. This strange mirror seemed to predict terrifying events in my life and draw me into a spiral of terror. It was just the beginning of a frightening mystery that would continue to entangle me further. After that night with the mysterious gift, everything began to change. The haunted mirror seemed to exert a strange control over the events in my life. Every morning, as I gazed into it, I saw terrifying visions. Images of car accidents, fires, and even violent crimes materialized in the old mirror. I didn't know how to interpret these visions. Were they just coincidences or a sinister warning? With each passing day, I felt increasingly overwhelmed by fear and unease. I tried to ignore these visions, to push them out of my mind, but they never truly disappeared. One day, as I looked into the mirror, I saw an utterly chilling image. It was a macabre scene. A graveyard on a stormy night, with toppled crosses and shattered tombstones. Amidst this grim landscape, I saw my name written in gleaming letters above a freshly dug grave. Fear gripped me even tighter, and that night, I had nightmares in which I saw myself in that cemetery, struggling to escape an unknown force pulling me into the grave. I didn't know how to handle this situation anymore. Whom could I confide in about these terrifying visions? My friends dismissed it as a tasteless prank, and my family didn't believe me. The mysterious mirror seemed to unveil a dark future for me, and draw me deeper into a world of terror. With each passing day, the mystery deepened, and I felt increasingly isolated in the face of this inexplicable threat. I began to believe that something malevolent was at work, and that I could only escape this curse by uncovering the truth behind the mysterious gift. The terrifying vision of the cemetery persisted in my mind, like a dark obsession that couldn't be ignored. I tried to find an explanation for those frightening images, and for my name etched above the fresh grave, but everything remained shrouded in malevolent mystery. I couldn't find peace, and one night, I decided to go to that cemetery. With a flashlight in hand and my heart pounding in my chest, I set off for the place I believed to be the one from my vision. The rain had started to fall lightly, and lightning sliced through the dark sky, revealing a sinister image of graves looming in the shadows. I found the entrance to the cemetery and ventured inside, feeling a cold, tomb-like sensation in the damp and heavy air. Cross after cross, tombstone after tombstone, I searched for the grave with the spiral symbol. With each step forward, I felt that the mystery of this dark place deepened, and the malevolent presence I had sensed in my vision began to manifest more strongly. Finally, deep within the cemetery, I found what I was looking for. A freshly dug grave with the terrifying symbol engraved on the tombstone. It was hard to believe that this was the same scene I had seen in my vision. My name was written above the grave, and the date of death indicated the near future. With paralyzing fear, I began to dig into the cold earth, hoping that maybe I would find something that would help me understand it all. With each shovelful of dirt, the earth lifted, revealing something horrifying. A small coffin that appeared to have been recently buried. I opened the coffin with trembling hands and was shocked by what I found inside. It was a photograph of me, depicting me as I looked on that very day, with the clothes and expression I had at that moment. A photograph from the future showing the moment when I was in the cemetery, in the lantern light, with my hands dirty from the earth. It was as if someone or something had foreseen all of this long before it happened. With my heart pounding wildly and a growing sense of suffocation, I stared at the photograph from the future, which clearly showed my present moment in that dark cemetery. I tried to collect my thoughts, but confusion and terror pushed me deeper into a spiral of unease. The rain was falling more heavily now, and lightning occasionally illuminated the cemetery, revealing the terrifying shadows of crosses and tombstones. In that moment, I felt that someone or something was close to me, a sinister presence that seemed to be watching me from the shadows. As I was preparing to leave the cemetery, a strong wind began to blow, rustling the dry leaves and filling the air with a strange smell. It was as if nature itself was reacting to the bizarre events taking place. The drizzling rain struck the tombstones with an eerie sound, and lightning cut through the sky around me, revealing a spectacular and frightening sight. With bated breath, I turned back to the mysterious grave where I had left the mirror. There, the mirror had ignited as if powered by a supernatural force. The image reflected in it took my breath away. It was an apocalyptic sequence. A car crashed into a tree, flames devouring any chance of survival. What was truly horrifying was that in the mirror, I could also see a dark shadow lurking near the wrecked car. When I tried to approach the mirror further, I felt that the presence from my vision had become palpable, and the desperate cries from inside the overturned car seemed to haunt me. But this wasn't the most terrifying part. The next moment, a loud noise behind me, resembling the flapping of giant wings, echoed through the air. I turned in dread and noticed that a tragic event was unfolding in the street. A car had slammed into a tree at high speed, and the trunk had been torn to pieces. It was an image of terror and destruction, and the heavy rain had now turned into a storm. I hurriedly ran towards the accident site, knowing that I had seen this scene in the mirror, and that it was the premonition from my earlier vision. The car was now a pile of twisted metal and smoke, and a dark, almost immaterial silhouette was rising from near the crashed vehicle. In that moment, I realized with horror that the next victim of the accident was myself. The premonition from the mirror had not only shown the future, but also the events that were to take place in reality. I felt caught in a race against time, and the sinister shadow approaching me became increasingly frightening as I approached the accident site. I understood that I had to do everything in my power to avoid this foreseen tragedy. With my heart pounding at a frantic pace, I turned and fled from that mysterious street, hoping I could change the course of destiny and not become the victim of that dark premonition. However, the question remained. How could I change what seemed to be written in the stars? I fled from the rain and storm-covered street, my heart pounding in my chest like an alarm bell. Behind me, the sound of the car crash faded into a somber background, but the feeling of imminent danger did not leave me. It was clear that the premonition from the mirror foretold a disastrous event, and I had to do everything possible to avoid it. With every step I took, the lightning illuminated the sky, revealing the terrifying shadows of trees and buildings. The drizzling rain soaked me to the skin, but I didn't stop running. I realized that time was running out quickly, and I had to act now. I reached a brighter area of the city, and the street opened up before me, revealing a bizarre landscape. Cars seemed to move in slow motion, and people moved with difficulty, as if everything was caught in a nightmare. It was as if time had lost its normal course, and space and reality intertwined in a frightening way. I realized that this was the moment when the premonition from the mirror was about to materialize. With a tight heart, I continued to run in the opposite direction, trying to find a safe place. However, the sinister shadow I had seen in the mirror seemed to be following me, slowing down every step. Finally, I managed to hide in an abandoned building on the edge of the street. I tried to control my breathing and gather my thoughts. This was the moment when I had to make a crucial choice: to stay hidden and hope that the predicted events would not occur, or to try to influence their course in a way that would save my life. With my heart still pounding wildly and my mind troubled by the premonition, I decided to wait, ready to act depending on how events unfolded. It was a terrifying and questioning night. The sinister shadow was getting closer and closer to me, like a symbol of the merciless destiny that seemed to be written in the stars. I held the gleaming mirror in my hand. I displayed horrifying images with the building and my car next to it. I felt a terrifying force starting to control me, and my hands seemed to act on their own. Despite all my despair, I couldn't stop the malevolent force that was pushing me towards the building's exit. There in front of me was my car, waiting for me obediently. Without my will, I entered inside, and the car started on its own. I had no control over the direction or speed anymore. With each passing second, the car accelerated more and more, and the road from the image became a reality. It was as if I was trapped in my own nightmare. I looked into the rearview mirror, hoping to see a way out, but the image was ominous. The car was speeding down that insane road at a horrifying pace, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. As the car raced down that dark and seemingly endless road, I felt a growing sense of despair. Control of the vehicle had been taken from me, and there was nothing I could do to change the course of events. In the rearview mirror, I saw the image of that terrifying shadow approaching me. It was as if my fate had been sealed. That malevolent presence was determined to fulfill its purpose. Throughout the journey, I tried to gather my thoughts and find a solution. In a moment of panic, I remembered the mirror I held in my hand. Perhaps it could be the key to my salvation. I attempted to shatter it, to destroy it in the hope that this desperate act would halt the car's reckless race. With each strike I made against the mirror, I felt the malevolent force controlling me weaken bit by bit. It was as if by breaking the mirror, I was severing the connection between myself and the force that had taken control. However, time was running out rapidly, and the road ahead was fraught with imminent dangers. In the end, with a desperate effort, I managed to shatter the mirror into thousands of pieces. At that moment, I felt the malevolent power that had controlled me dissipate, and the car began to lose its speed. I regained control of the vehicle and managed to stop it just before colliding with the oncoming truck, which was approaching ominously and honking its horn as a warning. Breathing heavily and with my heart pounding wildly, I stepped out of the car and looked back. The sinister shadow had disappeared. I had the sensation that I had narrowly escaped death just seconds before the premonition became a reality. As the truck passed by me, I felt that the malevolent force had completely dissipated. With the car now stopped and my breath gradually slowing down, I felt temporary relief, but also a deep-seated fear in my heart. The terrifying shadow had vanished, and the danger seemed to have passed for the moment. However, I couldn't escape the questions that haunted my mind. I exited the car and looked back, searching for any trace or clue that might help me understand this terrifying experience. But the road was deserted, and the night was growing darker around me. As I sat on the side of the road, I noticed a distant lightning strike. The lights on the horizon momentarily went out, and silence was once again felt. It was as if the universe itself was holding its breath in this sinister moment. In that moment, I felt a cold, slender hand touch my shoulder. I turned abruptly and stared directly into the eyes of a figure shrouded in darkness, with a malevolent smile on its lips. Her voice sounded like a whisper from beyond the grave. "You cannot escape. Your fate is sealed." I tried to flee, but darkness enveloped me, and everything turned black. When I came to my senses, I was once again in the cemetery, in that terrifying place where it all began. The sinister ending would never be revealed, and my questions and fears were swallowed by the eternal darkness of that place. My story had ended, but the dark cemetery kept its secrets, and the shadow remained ever vigilant, waiting for its next victim.